This started all about a week ago. After a 2-year investigation, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing found that Activision fostered a frat boy culture that subjects female employees to things including sexual harassment, unequal pay, situations where male employees were playing video games and delegating work to females, female employees being overlooked because of family commitments, so either being scolded or looked down upon for having to leave to go get family, or being overlooked for promotions on the chance that they might eventually want to start a family, and that retaliation for complaints. And I'm going to quote right here from Meave Alsop at Bloomberg Law, who wrote that the suit also points to a female Activision employee who took her own life while on a company trip with her male supervisor. The employee had been subjected to intense sexual harassment prior to her death, including having a nude photos passed around at a company holiday party, the complaint says. So right off the bat, not a good start. Clearly, those sort of allegations are troubling. And so there was a case filed within California court. And then Blizzard responds. Blizzard spokesperson reaches out to Jason Schreier, and he posted this on Twitter. I'm going to pull it up here. Let me see if I can find it. Jason Schreier. So I'm going to read the document that they wrote. I feel like it's fair just to give them their full chance to kind of explain. So this is coming from a Blizzard spokesperson that sent this to Jason Schreier. So the DFEH includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative with DFEH throughout the investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation. But they refused to inform us what issues they perceived. They were required by law to adequately investigate and to have good faith discussions with us to better understand and resolve any claims or concerns before going to litigation. But they failed to do so. Instead, they rushed to file an inaccurate complaint, as we will demonstrate in court. We are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the DFEH to drag into the complaint the tragic suicide of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever on this case and with no regard for her grieving family. While we find this behavior to be disgraceful and unprofessional, it is unfortunately an example of how they have conducted themselves throughout the course of this investigation. It is this type of irresponsible behavior from unaccountable state bureaucrats that are driving many of the state's best businesses out of California. He goes on to continue. The picture the DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today. Over the past several years and continuing since the initial investigation started, we've made significant changes to address company culture and reflect more diversity within our leadership teams. We've updated our code of conduct to emphasize a strict non-retaliation focus, amplified internal programs and channels for employees to report violations, including the Ask List with a confidential integrity hotline, and introduced an employee relations team dedicated to investigating employee concerns. We have strengthened our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and combined our employee networks at a global level to provide additional support. Employees must also undergo regular anti-harassment training and have done so for many years. And Adam, once that was posted, nothing bad came up. Everyone let it go. No, of course
everybody
they did not.
Accepted that apology and moved on, and this story is a moot point. I don't even know why we're talking about it.
Exactly, yeah. That's all that we need to hear. No, it did not go well. So what ended up happening is a bunch of, current and former Blizzard staff went out to Twitter or social networks and kind of shared their stories that mimic the complaints that the DFEH made. So these include people like Anna Armstrong, Joy Field, Ben Broads, Mike Morhaime, Chris Metzen, Halinka, and Steve Denuser. I apologize if I mispronounced any of those names. I'm not going to go through all their tweets and stories, but suffice to say, they all sort of echoed what the complaints made by the California state echoed. So this then comes out, and we have another employee, Jeff Hamilton, who is a senior system designer at for the World of Warcraft team. He's saying that because of all this turmoil, basically no work is being done on updates or nothing new is being created at World of Warcraft, which is obviously not good for players, not good for the team. They obviously want to be creating stuff, and it's not good for the company as well. Kind of like a side story, it's not the key point here, but just know that it has been impacting the day-to-day business of Activision Blizzard. And then there was a petition. So over 2,000 current and former employees signed an open letter to Activision Blizzard demanding that the company sign a basically release a document that recognizes the seriousness of the allegations and demonstrate compassion for the victims of harassment and assault. So I'll read the letter once again, just giving everyone their fair chance to speak. To the leaders of Activision Blizzard, we, the undersigned, agree that the statements from Activision Blizzard Inc. and their legal counsel regarding the DFEH lawsuit, as well as their subsequent internal statement from Frances Townsend, the document I just read, are abhorrent and insulting to all that we believe our company should stand for. To put it clearly and unequivocally, our values as employees are not accurately reflected in the words and actions of our leadership. We believe these statements have damaged our ongoing quest for equality inside and outside of our industry. Categorizing the claims that have been made as distorted and in many cases false creates a company atmosphere that disbelieves victims. It also casts doubt on our organization, ability to hold abusers accountable for their actions, and foster a safe environment for victims to come forward in the future. These statements make it clear that our leadership is not putting our values first. Immediate corrections are needed from the highest levels of our organization. From our company executives have claimed that actions will be taken to protect us, but in the face of legal action and the troubling official responses that followed, we no longer trust that our leadership will place employee safety above their own interests. To claim that this is a truly meritless and irresponsible lawsuit, while seeing so many current and former employees speak out about their own experiences regarding harassment and abuse, is simply unacceptable. We call for official statements that recognize the seriousness of the allegations and demonstrate compassion for victims of harassment and assault. We call on Frances Townsend to stand by her words to step down as an executive sponsor of the ABK Employee Women's Network as a result of the damaging nature of her statement. We call on the executive leadership team to work with us on new and meaningful efforts that ensure employees, as well as our community, have a safe place to speak out and come forward. We stand with all our friends, teammates, and colleagues, as well as the members of our dedicated community who have experienced mistreatment or harassment of any kind. We will not be silenced. We will not stand aside. And we will not give up until the company we love is a workplace we can all feel proud to be part of again. We will be the change. So they released that statement. And then this Monday, Activision held a meeting like an all hands meeting with their team to kind of talk about the allegations and what's been going on. So they held it on the 26th. However, due to scheduling errors, only about 500 employees were allowed to join the Zoom call, though another one was scheduled for today. I don't have any updates as how that went. But I'm going to just read this article. This is from Ty Gallus Rowe from Uppercut Crit. I've kind of parsed some stuff out. It got a little editorial, so I kind of cut that out, but I felt that it did a good job kind of explaining it. So according to our source, Tobe started the meeting off by saying that he and Bobby Kotick, Activision CEO, have never seen this, but that does not mean that this behavior does not happen. Tob went on to say that for him, zero tolerance means claims are investigated properly, which apparently also means strictly internally. We don't publicize all these claims. We work with the employees and the person who is accused and try to work on a resolution, Tobe said, according to the source. When asked about unionization by one of the employees, Tob's answer was again pushing for internal handling of these situations. The best way for protection is reaching out to your supervisors, hotline, and avenues, Tob allegedly responded. When asked how hard it was to write a company apology, Tob simply responded, "We did," before adding, "I cannot control how everybody in the company responds." Tob also acknowledged that the note from Frances Townsend wasn't the right communication, and then continues on. Though there were several other mentions of doing better and helping employees find the voice, it seems that Activision is still planning to actively combat the lawsuit being brought against it by the state of California. According to our source, Tob said, "I think the state of California has filed a suit, and we are going to fight it. It will go through a legal process, but this is an allegation, not a conviction." And that leads us to tomorrow. So, what's basically happening, this is coming from Kotaku. I'm going to read this article again because once again I find it's really good. This is by Mike Fahey at Kotaku. He writes, what do I have here? My apologies, give me 1 second. So what they're saying is basically, as a result of these concerns and these allegations, tomorrow, Wednesday, or today as the time of listening, July 28th, Blizzard and Activision employees are going to be doing a, formal walkout of the company. So the protest event, formerly known as the Activision Blizzard Walkout for Equality, will be held tomorrow virtually from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, with a live event stage at the Blizzard campus in Irvine, California from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Employees unable to attend in person are asked to stop their work during these times and signal boost via social media using the hashtag ActiBlizzWalkout. Turnout is expected to be about 50 or more in person, with many more joining virtually for the sake of COVID-19 safety. And I quote, "We are encouraging employees to take whatever time off they feel safe to do so," an employee rep told Kotaku. "Most of us plan to take the full day off without pay, but we understand some people, like contractors and associates, and those who are paid less than they deserve, might not have the ability to do so." And then this is the statement that this is the official write-up and demands that they made in relation to the protest and then walkout for tomorrow. So, given last week's statement from Activision Blizzard Incorporated and their legal counsel regarding the DFEH lawsuit, as well as the subsequent internal statement from Francis Townsend and the many stories shared by current and former employees of Activision Blizzard since, we believe our values as employees are not being accurately reflected in the words and actions of our leadership. As current Activision Blizzard employees, we are holding a walkout to call on the executive leadership team to work with us on the following demands in order to improve conditions for employees at the company, especially women, and in particular women of color and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups. So they have, I think, 4 demands here. Yeah, 4 demands. So first one, an end to mandatory arbitration clauses in all employee contracts, current and future. Arbitration clauses protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. The adoption of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and promotion policies designed to improve representation among employees at all levels, agreed upon by employees in a company-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion organization. Current practices have led to women, in particular women of color and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups that are vulnerable to gender discrimination, not being hired fairly for new roles when compared to men. Publications of data on relative compensation, including equity grants and profit sharing, promotion rates, and salary ranges for employees of all genders and ethnicities at the company. Current practices have led to aforementioned groups not being paid and promoted fairly. And lastly, empower a company-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion task force to hire a third party to audit ABK's reporting structure, HR departments, and executive staff. It is imperative to identify how current systems have failed to prevent employee harassment and to propose new solutions to address these issues. And that's where we leave it as of 10 to 9 on July 27th.
It's a lot of reading.
Adam, that's basically the whole story. Dakota, I hope we kind of covered it for you there. Adam, let's just real quick. It's not going to be a hot take, but like, what is your stance? Where do you fall on this whole accusation?
Where do I fucking start? You just spent what felt like 20 minutes giving all the information. I don't need to do anything more than to just point out that one line that you said in their statement, where they said, "We are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the DFEH to drag into the complaint that the tragic suicide of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever on this case and with no regard for her grieving family." How do they have any fucking idea that this has nothing to do with that case? That is if there is anything that I can pull from what Activision has done, because I'll get into all the shit that happened allegedly, but from their statement, that one thing is what I get to pull out and go, they don't care. Because
100%.
No one, like, we are assuming that in a business trip that this person killed themselves because of interactions with a male supervisor who allegedly brought butt plugs and lubricant on the trip with him, which, gee, I can't imagine what those were for. And when you take all the other allegations into perspective, look, I'm not saying, because I don't have all the evidence in front of me, that's for the courts to decide, but I'm not going to say flat out that this woman took her life because of this person. But I'm also not going to be a person outright saying, yeah, this has nothing to do with the case. Because clearly, that's not for you to decide either, Activision. That's for the court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and if that's your story, I didn't mean to cut you off. If that's your statement...
I was going to say right there, like, I mean, I don't know the full situation. I wasn't there. I don't know the intricate details. I'm just giving a synopsis. But based on what I just read, like the fact that, you know, she had complaints of harassment and, you know, sexual harassment. Was it what drove her? Maybe, maybe not. Did it contribute to it? Hell yeah, it did. Like, you can't.
Yeah, the fact that it has
may not have been the only
to do
driving
with
factor,
the case.
I'm not saying that it didn't have, like, it definitely had something. Was it the driving factor? I don't know, but it's certainly something that needs to be looked at and investigated, because those two things, you know, very much, if not, you know, 100% related, definitely contributed to each other.
Well, and at the same time too, like, to say it had nothing to do with the case. Like, look, even if it has 1% to do with the case, you can't quantify it, but let's say 1%, it's still a problem.
Yeah, no workplace harassment. There shouldn't be workplace harassment, but forget to the point where even if it contributes to one situation like that is huge. Like, it shouldn't even get to that point.
It's, again, everything that you expect from a corporation that uses to defend themselves, so they don't have to take any sort of responsibility, don't have to worry about their pay getting cut, don't have to worry about making changes that require things like paying their employees better, treating their employees better, doing an actual job as a manager to manage your employees and not let the fucking chaos run. Every time that happens, isn't it interesting too that one person asked about unionization and they cut that shit off? So, by the way, America, stop fucking pussyfooting around unionization. You need that shit in order to get treated better. Stop fucking listening to like what everybody talks about it being communism and shit. Jesus Christ, guys. Unionizing is going to be the best thing for you guys to actually get paid properly, to get proper benefits, to get proper health care, all that shit. And the fact that you guys are doing it because you sounded like it's some weird thing that's going to, potentially ruin the company. You're like, shut up. Like, do 5 minutes of research and you'll understand why you need your company to be unionized. Doesn't matter what field you're in, you should be looking to get unionized.
Side note, I just love when you get fired up. It's so fun to watch Angry Adam.
Oof, we haven't even gotten started yet.
No, I know. I mean, this is just...
man.
This is ridiculous. And side note, whoever's running their PR team just needs to go. This is not how you handle this situation.
No. I don't give the PR staff anything because that's their job. Like, this is a bit of an aside. Anybody who's a hockey fan here in Canada knows that the Montreal Canadiens are in deep shit because they drafted a guy who had some serious sexual harassment and, quite frankly, like delivering non-consensual pictures around the internet. So, and the Montreal Canadiens drafted this kid even though he said not to be drafted, and the PR staff is just having to do what the office of the Canadians do. So it's the same thing with Activision, where I say, guys, like, look, don't get mad at the PR staff. It's the job they're stuck with.
But I mean, they can handle this a whole lot different. Make sure you're pointing
the fingers in the right direction.
No, I am not trying to say that this is like PR should be blown, but like, you have these allegations and you come out and be like, no, they're totally wrong. Like, it's the DFVH that's the villain, not us. You come out, you say, man, we are shocked by these allegations. This does not reflect us. We're eager to kind of bring this forward and, investigate this further and have the truth come to light. Done. You're not pissing everybody off. But like this
but that's not what they're being told to do. That's the problem.
This shouldn't even happen in the first place.
No.
Like, the fact that it gets to this point, like, that is unacceptable.
And I mean, it tells you how widespread it is, because this isn't the first time. Riot had to walk out a couple of years back for similar reasons. And I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, obviously, we know what happened with Ubisoft. I can't imagine this is not happening anywhere else. I'm sure we'll see more of this come to light, especially because this is a bit like the Riot one was a big one. The Ubisoft bit was a big one. But this is now like this is almost.
I think this is the biggest.
Yeah, this is king. Like this is going to be a really big turning factor depending on which way it goes. And I hope that what this does is allows a lot more people in other large companies, not even just in the gaming industry, but specifically in the game industry. That's where our wheelhouse is. But I want people to understand that, like, this is the only way. Like, the more we stay quiet about it, the more this is never going to change. And the only way that things can get better for everybody, and yes, everybody, folks. I know that a lot of us seem to think that it's all about the LGBT community or it's all about women empowerment now. It's like, guys, remember that we've always had empowerment. It's time to just put them at the same level we're at. That's not asking much. When you hear stories about female workers getting criticized for picking up their children at daycare so they're leaving work early, or getting kicked out of lactation rooms so the men can use them for meetings. I'm like, and you don't think that there's anything wrong with that? Like this isn't a cancel culture thing. This isn't some sort of like female empowerment thing. This is just letting women like live.
It's just basic human courtesy at this point. Like, it's basic expectations we should have from everybody.
Like, look, it's the same, like, it's just that unfair comparison that people make. It's like, oh, it's men are having trouble right now in these things. I'm like, yeah, why can't we address both at the same time? Like, why does it have to be one over the other? Like, why is it like, oh, well, men have issues here too. Here, why aren't we talking about that? We can. It's just you, like, I'm not talking you, Kayla, I'm talking these specific people. You guys only want to talk about this thing whereas you can't accept the other thing and then talk about your thing at the same time. Because, I mean, look, it's not a difficult thing to say, hey, I don't want anybody to be harassed in the workplace. I don't want anybody to be inappropriately touched. I don't want to have anybody have to be, walking around and listening to rape jokes all the time. I don't want people to be having to be sitting at their cubicle during a cube crawl, which is apparently when a bunch of guys drink a lot of alcohol and go basically a bar crawl around the office. And it's like, what the fuck? Are you like college kids? Are you fucking children?
Yep.
You're at work. What the fuck? If any other company in the world, if you come into work drunk, you're fired. Or at the very least told to go to rehab, and if you don't accept that, then you're definitely fired.
Yeah.
But these guys, it's literally like actual tradition to do this stuff. I guess it shouldn't be that surprising coming from a Call of Duty company, considering their entire clientele is basically fucking children, and people will say, well, there are adults that play it too. Are they though? Are they adults?
I'm not going to go with the comparison that like I'm going to separate the players of their games from the people that we're talking about here. Like that I think is not a fair comparison to make.
Look, you wanted me heated. This is what you get.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna keep you. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna keep you in check.
But
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, I don't understand how people on the outside, because you fully expect the company to defend themselves. Of course, they don't want to lose shit tons of money. Bobby Kotick does not want to lose his job where he's making millions of dollars to sit on his ass and tell people, I'm not paying you to do anything good. Just make a shitty game and put it out there and we'll make millions of dollars and I'll get paid and you guys don't. And I'll lay you all off after profits. So, I don't like the business side, which I'll still get to, but it's just the fact that like anybody on the outside that has a problem with what's going on right now, this doesn't involve you. This doesn't affect you. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, anything Activision Blizzard makes is not going to be affected because they treat women better. I don't know what you guys think is going to happen. World of Warcraft is not going to suddenly become a 5 out of 10 MMO the second that women are allowed to, breathe in the same office they work in. Yeah. If anything, no, it's just, if you want to know what's going to kill Warcraft, it's going to be Final Fantasy 14 because they seem to be doing a damn good job lately. I don't think you guys got to worry about what Activision Blizzard's doing. You might want to look over your shoulder in the rearview mirror. Actually, it might be the other way around. You might be looking at them passing in front of you right now. Yeah. Let's just kind of like bring it back. So what do you think? What does this mean for Activision Blizzard? Like, where do you see this going? What do you see do you see them recovering from this? I mean, I don't think they're really hurting at this point still. I mean, we don't know what the numbers, I mean, we're not going to know this for a while. This is the problem with litigation like this. We aren't going to know the full results for years. This is not going to be a case that ends next month. This is going to be something that takes years and years and years. We'll all forget this story by the time that the court has its resolution and we see like what the payments are for all, because there's going to be a settlement at some point. I don't think this is going to go all the way to an actual like full-on hearing where we get an actual sentencing of what's going to happen. Eventually it'll just be like, all right, fine, we'll pay all you guys X amount of dollars if you just shut the hell up. Yeah, because that's what always happens. Yeah, I mean, I really am hoping for some genuine change, and like this is not what I want from any sort of developer or publisher. Like this is not. No. We don't want to be here to talk about this kind of stuff. Like we want to talk about video games and the awesomeness of it, but it sucks that we have to talk about this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I think like I really hope there's some genuine change that comes out of it. But unfortunately, the way like the news cycle goes, it's gonna get forgotten. It's like hopefully some internal change happens in some things, but it's not going to work. Like I don't know. I really hope that we hold them accountable and we hold the company's feet to the fire. But I think you're right. Like the time that'll take for this to happen, like I really hope it doesn't blow over. It depends on where. I mean, obviously, in the circles of people that are defending Activision, they're going to forget about this in a week because they'll find something else to be mad at. If you're on the side of trying to empower these people that are trying to get some restitution for what's going on, this will last a lot longer. Like, they will carry this as much as they can, but eventually there's only so much you can talk about when there's nothing happening. Yeah, like, eventually it's going to get to a point where the courts are just in freeze mode because we know, I mean, I don't know, it's definitely faster in the States, but here in Canada, we know how long fucking court cases can take in this country. It's insanely ridiculous how long shit will take. So, and I mean, if you're talking like the amount of lawsuits and the repeals and they're going to get sent to different courts and there's going to be they're going to do, like Activision's going to do everything they can to just keep holding out and delaying it until eventually people just get tired of waiting and just take a settlement, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think you're right. There are going to be some people who don't care about the allegations one way or another, and that's fine. They're just like, yeah, I just want to play my video games. That's totally fine. There's a segment that, really, is going to take this to heart and, stick it to Activision and Blizzard. But I think there's a larger general population that, they're just casual players and that they don't follow the day-to-day news and they probably don't know what's going on. And I mean, that's totally fine too. If that's where you want to be, like, I'm not going to hold anyone for that. And so I think what we could really hope in terms of a best case scenario is that, like, internally Activision does some work and, fixes things, and that it is a better culture in the long run, because that's really, I don't think there's anyone who would make the argument that that's not what they want. So yeah, I mean, from like a corporate perspective, yeah, they don't want to look bad, and they can't say, yeah, we're going to fix this. But I don't know, it's hard to imagine that someone's like, no, I'm not for this.
Well, the ultimate issue too is it's like, as a fan on the outside, there's not a whole lot you can do to like hurt them financially. Because look, we can all just decide like we're not going to buy Activision Blizzard games, but that doesn't really hurt the big ones. That doesn't hurt the big wigs. Like, it's not going to hurt Bobby Kotick. He's going to make his money and fuck off. It's going to hurt the employees that are going to get fired over it. That's kind of the weird trade-off that we get. And that's the challenge in movements like this, is that you can say you can vote with your wallet, and that's what I've been doing for, honestly, a couple of years now, because I don't buy anything with Activision Blizzard because I don't like their practices. And now just this story just makes it really easy for me to keep that on that decision. But like, it's, if Call of Duty suddenly only sells 500,000 copies the next one that comes out, which is impossible, but if hypothetically it happened, it's not going to affect the core office staff that like run the ship. It's not going to do anything to them. In fact, the worst case scenario for them is they get ousted from the company and get a gigantic severance package worth millions of dollars, and they laugh their way to their freaking multi-million-dollar mansions for the rest of their life, or they just get another job at some other dumb fuck company that'll take on their bullshit. But if you're a programmer that's making barely enough to scrape by for what you should be getting, compared to what you should be getting paid, I should say, you're going to lose your job, and you might have trouble finding work.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So, like, the only real way that we can do this is by keeping the story alive, and there's only so much of a shelf life before something else happens. Because you can focus on this story, and the Riot thing was a great example. Like, the Riot Games story went away and came back and went away and came back. It's impossible to keep it up forever. I mean, there are events like, how many people have already forgotten about the wildfires in Australia? Like, big deal. But how many people have forgotten about it? Because COVID took over. So, I mean, it's just the fact that, like, a big story happens, everybody will be really involved for X amount of time, and then another big story happens, and all the attention's gone. Activision's biggest hope right now is that somebody else fucks up royally too, and takes some of the edge off. That's really what they're hoping for, because this isn't going to go away until somebody else does it. Ubisoft is probably breathing a sigh of relief because a lot of the heat's off of them now for some other company taking the spot, because Activision, quite honestly, is bigger than them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a shit state. Like, I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what... again, like, even if I had all the evidence in front of me, I'd be sitting there being like, well, I'm upset, but I don't know what that means in a court of law. I don't know what the hell that's going to do.
Yeah.
It just as a fan, like, it royally pisses me off that the industry that at one point as a kid I wanted to be into, and I listened and watch and read and all the things that apparently happen at some of these companies, and I go, A, I'm appalled. B, I don't even have a goddamn idea what I would do in that situation, because I'm straight edge. So if I was sitting at my desk and a bunch of drunk idiots were walking around the friggin' office doing a bunch of weird shit, puking on my desk or trying to ruffle I guess not my hair now, but back then, all that's like, I don't know how I react to that, because again, I don't know, like, where am I in the company? What power do I have? Is there any, like, because that's the thing with a lot of these victims, is that they don't know if it's worth saying anything, because as we've seen with some of these allegations, nothing's ever done. Yeah. So it just puts a target on their back. And that's why a lot of people, like, because I used to think this way at one point, why aren't, if people are getting sexually assaulted, why aren't they coming out? Because a lot of the times nothing happens, and now it's thrown into the forefront. They're They're public. They're like front page news. Their name's out there for everybody to see. The shame that they encountered is now put on there for everyone to see. And if nothing happens, well, shit, now all that was for nothing. Mm-hmm. And you know a lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of the consequences. And even just staying within the realm of their office, their place of work, they're afraid they can lose their job, get blacklisted from the company, because that's happened in a lot of different industries. So there's
and
all
it's a small
these
industry.
things.
It's a small industry. Like, I mean, sure, I know it's like a big industry in the sense of like money and there's lots of developers, but like I get the impression it's a very small industry that
it is a networking
everybody.
industry for sure.
It is 100% a networking industry, and you're putting a lot on the line to put yourself out there.
So. There are a lot of people that are blacklisted from the industry forever just because of one thing they did to some guy who was a big wig in a bigger company. That's all it takes. Yeah. And it's a lot of different fields, but like the game, I guess because it's in my wheelhouse, I've seen a lot of these stories, and it's like, man, what do you do? Like that's going to be the biggest question of this entire thing is like, what do we do? And I don't know what the answer is. Like, that's the challenge with it is what is there for us to do apart from, just talking about it and trying to get a couple more people to be like, hey, like, I'm not asking you guys to not buy Activision Blizzard games ever again. I'm just asking you to hold them responsible. Anytime they tweet some, like, the next time a big Call of Duty trailer comes out or a big World of Warcraft trailer comes out on YouTube, flood that comment section with, so are you guys gonna change the company so it doesn't do this shit ever again? You gonna change your diversity policies? You gonna treat women better? Do that. Just make it insufferable. Be insufferable. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is not something that should be tolerated anywhere. And yeah.